Hi moms, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to go through a prenatal yoga sequence. Please be sure that you are okay to practice prenatal yoga and that you are cleared by your doctor to participate in doing any yoga at this time throughout your pregnancy. So being mindful of your health concerns and what's going on with your body and your baby. So before we dive into today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below you guys, and let's get started on today's practice for prenatal yoga. So coming into a comfortable seated position, so if you have a blanket or a cushion you'd want to sit on just to support the hips and pelvis, feel free to have that seated below your bum. We're going to come into a cross-legged seated position. And of course, if that's not working for any reason, just stretching out the legs long in front of you. Start out coming into our breath. So resting the hands into the lap, onto the legs, and closing the eyes if that feels safe and comfortable for you. Starting to bring some awareness in towards our breath. So as baby grows, we start to lose some capacity into the breathing. So it's really nice to practice yogi breathing, finding expansion and breath into the chest, the side of the ribs, into the back body. Taking a nice inhale here into the heart and the chest, filling up. And an exhale out the nose or through the mouth, just letting that breath come out. Taking another breath, filling up heart and chest. And exhale, release that breath out. Starting to allow the inhales to come in through the nose and exhaling out. Starting to find some expansion through the breath. So maybe adding a count of 1 or 2 to the inhale, and then our exhale finding that same count. So you could start with 2, expanding up to 4, 5, 6. Just doing what feels good for you. So we're not trying to force breath or lose our breath. We just want to find some movement through it. So working through our Samasvriti breathing, known as equal parts breath. Finding inhale to whatever count is working for you. And exhaling that count. Can you let the shoulder blades fall down the back, coming all the way down the back body, sinking those hips into the ground. And just allowing that breath to come in and exhale back out. Starting to flutter the eyes open. From here, we're going to inhale, reach up that right arm high towards the sky. Exhale as we gently tip over. So in this pose, I really want you to think about, I call it the hugging onto baby cue. So imagining that you are activating these abdominal muscles in the belly here, and you're drawing baby in, so almost like you're hugging baby towards you, keeping baby nice and close. So it's a really important cue in prenatal yoga to activate our transverse abdominal muscles, which is what those muscles are. That thinking about that, drawing baby close and lifting up, so almost like you're hugging baby in and up towards you. So we'll reach through those fingers, releasing that bottom hand, crossing it over onto the opposite knee, so bringing it onto your right knee. So we're thinking about reaching through the fingers here, reaching through up towards the sky. Just gently tipping over. So more about keeping our heart shining forward, less about tipping all the way over here. So just finding a gentle expansion into the side body, in through the ribs. Take one more breath. And exhale, start to come back to center. Release that top arm, release the cross at the opposite. Shake out that arm if you need to. Coming through the other side, we'll inhale, reach up the left, hugging baby nice and close. Exhale as we tip just gently over, reaching across to the opposite knee, pressing that knee down and away, keeping our sit bones grounded. Reach through those fingers. And just tip gently over, finding that expansion into the intercostal muscles. Exhale, come back to center, release that top arm, release the cross. Shake out those wrists, those shoulders. From here, we'll release the legs out in front, give them a kick out and a shake out, wiggle them out. Just pressing the legs towards the side of the mat, finding our way into our all fours position, our tabletop position. Take your time getting there as you need. So from here, if you need to support the knees or support the wrists, so allowing maybe a cushion or a little blanket underneath your knees or underneath the wrists. As we go through pregnancy, our joints get super limber and super hypermobile, so it's really important to support those joints so we're not putting too much weight and too much pressure into them. So we're going to spread nice and wide through the fingers here, gripping our fingertips in towards the mat. Imagining that you're lifting up and drawing up through those hands. So really trying to lift the palm up. Imagine there's a little yellow flower underneath your hands. Really thinking about lifting and drawing upwards. Pressing those shoulders away, nice and strong here. Hugging baby close. If you're coming through your third trimester, you might be feeling a lot of weight into the belly. So being sure to hug baby nice and close to you. And from here, we're going to work through our cat-cow posture. So as we inhale, gently spreading through the chest, the collarbone, lifting the gaze up, flipping our bum towards the sky. And exhale to round through our cat, rounding through the spine, pushing the spine high towards the sky, head falls. And inhale, coming back through, collarbones widen, gaze comes forward, slightly up. Almost like you're trying to imagine dropping baby down towards the mat, but of course not anything too exaggerative here, protecting that abdominal wall. Exhale, round back through, pressing through the hands, push the spine high towards the sky. Just really thinking about moving with each vertebrae here, all the way from the neck, coming all the way down to the tailbone. Just finding those gentle, slow movements, maybe closing the eyes here to really connect with that breath. Coming through your last round, let's sit our bum back onto our feet, shake out those wrists, just releasing any tension, any carpal tunnel that might be happening. Awesome. Rocking ourselves back forward into our tabletop. We're going to step the right foot to the outside edge of our right hand, coming into our low lunge variation. So making as much space as you need between the legs here. Enough space for baby. Tenting the fingers onto the mat. And as we exhale, we start to press ourselves back up, coming into our low lunge. So sitting nice and tall with the hips here. Taking an inhale, reaching through the crown of the head. So really important through our pregnancy to remember that 70% range of motion. So we're going to inhale, start to soften through the front hip, sinking our hips a little lower towards the mat. And on our exhale, thinking about drawing up and lifting up, growing that spine nice and tall. You can rest the hand onto the hip, other hand onto the thigh. So being mindful of that 70% because we have a hormone called relaxin running through our bodies during pregnancy. So it actually makes your joints a lot more flexible, so you can often do things that you never were able to do before pregnancy. So being really mindful that we're only hitting that 70% range, not pushing ourselves further past that. You can option to reach up the left arm, reaching high towards the sky. Again, hugging baby nice and close here. Taking one more breath. And exhale, start to release that hand back down to the mat, walking the right hand down. Let's step that right foot back, coming back into our tabletop position. Give those hips a wiggle and a sway side to side. Release the hips, shake it out. And from here, we'll step that left foot to the outside of the left hand, coming into our low lunge Anjaneyasana on the other side. Tenting onto those fingers, rooting through the feet. Let's exhale, press ourselves up, hug baby nice and close as we come up. Keeping the hands onto the hip and the leg. Inhale, start to soften through, stretching into that front glute, that front hip, making sure we can see our big toes. Lifting nice and tall through the crown of the head. Option to reach up that right arm, reaching high towards the sky. So every inhale, softening, sinking towards the mat, but every exhale, we're lifting and drawing up. Lifting through our pelvic floor, growing that spine tall. And exhale, start to release that top hand down, bringing the other hand down. Step that foot back, come back into our tabletop. Find some wiggles into the hips, releasing the back, any tightness. So from here, we're going to bring our knees wide onto the outer edges of the mat, sitting our bum back onto our feet. So for my third trimester moms, I want you to option to use a block or a pillow here, just resting it across the back of the calves. So it just helps to support the pelvis. And even if you're first or second trimester and you want that support, feel free to use a block or a bolster of some kind. So as we exhale, start to walk our hands down onto forearms, creating lots of space for baby here. Just allowing our hands to walk further forward, allowing the forehead to melt towards the mat. So if the forehead's quite far away, you can option to use a block here under the forehead, releasing the forehead down. You can cross those arms, you can use those as a little pillow. Just finding whatever works for you. It allows you to connect your forehead to something. Finding some breath wherever you are. Big inhale into the heart and the chest. And exhale out the mouth, let that go. Now start to walk yourself back up, finding your way back to your tabletop. Release the blocks or the bolsters, wherever you are. Bring the feet back. Give those hips some wiggles, some shakes right to left. Finding neutral again, finding our nice tabletop here, stacking our joints from our tabletop, spreading nice and wide through those hands, pushing our shoulders away. We're going to curl under the back toes, starting to press ourselves up into our downward facing dog. So exhale, press up, hug baby close, pressing through the feet, coming into our inverted V. Walk the dog, bend those knees right to left, stretch out those hamstrings. Exhale, releasing any tension through the legs. Finding stillness for a second here, sinking that heart toward those knees, finding as much space as you need. So you need to bend the knees here, creating lots of space. Breath out. Let's inhale. And we'll exhale, set the right foot to the outside of the foot. And then stepping up the left foot, coming into a deep bend here through the knees. Allowing the head to fall, hands reach towards the mat. If you need to support yourself a little further, resting those forearms onto the thighs. Letting the crown of the head fall towards the mat. Option to release and let your hands dangle as long as you have enough support here with baby and your low back. Exhale, bring those forearms onto the thighs. Pressing into a nice flat back, so gaze is parallel with the floor. Back's coming nice and flat, drawing those shoulder blades down the back. Hands onto the thighs. We'll exhale, hug baby close, pressing ourselves up to standing. Give those legs a shake, give those hips a wiggle. Awesome. Finding the top of our mat. We're going to bring the hands to face forward, rooting through the feet here. So rooting into the four corners of our feet. Lifting up through those arches if you're rolling inwards. Think about lifting up through the feet, all the way through the legs. Inhale, roll those shoulders back. Palms facing forward. Coming into our strong mountain pose. Finding a big breath here into the heart and the chest. Exhale, release. From the top of our mat, we're going to step our left foot back, coming into our warrior posture. So back foot comes onto a 45, front toes are pointing forward, and finding a bend into the front leg. Hands can be onto the hips. And you can have a shorter stance here if you need to as well. So it doesn't have to be a big, long stance. You can shorten that up. So really thinking about hugging baby nice and close here. Really activating through those abdominal muscles. Super important to protect that abdominal wall as we go through pregnancy. Outward pressure creates separation of our abs. So completely normal, just something to be mindful of when we are in our yoga poses. Let's inhale, sweep those arms wide into a T. Gaze comes over the front fingertips. Taking a nice inhale. And exhale, can you soften through those shoulders, letting them fall away from the ears. Release that back hand onto your hip. We're going to flip the front hand palm towards the sky. Exhale as we draw a line across the ceiling, reaching through those top fingertips. You can gaze forward, or you can option to gaze towards that top hand, getting a stretch through the neck. So ensuring that we're not dumping into our low back. Taking one more breath. Strong, strong. Exhale, release that top hand back. Release back into your warrior. We'll bring the hands to heart center, pressing into the palms. Let's start to hop ourselves back to the top of the mat. Release that standing leg, give them a shake, give them a shimmy. Awesome. And from here, we'll step our right foot back, coming into our warrior on the other side, so back toes onto that 45. Taking a bend into that front knee, keeping our heart shining open. Inhale, reach those arms into a T, gaze over those front fingertips. So checking that front leg, making sure that we're tracking our knee to the pinky toe side of the foot. So making sure you can see that big toe. Take a nice big inhale. Exhale, nice and strong, lifting through the pelvic floor, drawing the crown of the head towards the sky. We'll release that back hand on the hip, flip the front hand, and exhale as we draw ourselves up towards the sky. So gaze can come forward, keeping that bend into the front knee. Opening up, take a breath. That nice expansion into the shoulders, in through the side body. And exhale, release, come back into a T, warrior two. Bring the hands to heart center and starting to step yourself up to the top of the mat. Walk out those legs, give them a shake, give the hips a shimmy. Inhale, sweep up high towards the sky, reaching through the fingers. Exhale through heart center. Starting to sit our bum back, coming into our chair posture. So if you need to have a block between the legs to support the legs, feel free to do so. Having a block to rest there. If you have one, just helps with those knees knocking together, a little bit of extra support and some winding through the hips. Press those hands to heart center. Ensuring that our gaze is coming forward, lifting through the chest, engaging and hugging into baby, strong into our squat here. One more breath. And exhale, press yourself back up, reaching the hands up overhead. Let's exhale, release them at your sides. Let that go, release that block if you had it. We'll inhale, sweep up high to sky. Exhale through heart center, sticking our bum back and forward folding as we bend down, coming onto forearms, onto the thighs. Nice flat back here. Let's exhale, start to release forward, crown of the head coming towards the mat. Hands dangle, release that neck, yes, no. Take a nice big deep bend into the legs, pressing the hands down. Let's step our right foot down, coming down onto the knee, and the left down, working our way back down to the mat. Coming through our tabletop, just find some wiggles in the hips, some circles back and forth. Releasing, letting the hips go. Awesome. We'll sit back onto our bum, shake out those wrists, and we'll kick those legs to the side, coming into our seated position here on the mat. So finding a comfortable cross-legged, if you need to sit onto a cushion or a block or a blanket under your bum, feel free to do so. Finding a comfortable seated position here. So if you're cross-legged, just stretching out those feet, bring the soles of the feet together. So coming into our bound angle pose. So soles of feet together, creating a nice diamond shape of the legs. So just a comfortable position, wherever it feels natural to put your hips is perfectly fine. So allowing the knees to splay open, creating some openness into the adductors and through the IT band. It's just finding some relief through the pelvis, the hips. Sitting nice and tall here. Just tapping back into our breath. And as we exhale, starting to tip from the pelvis, tipping our heart down towards the mat. So maybe walking those hands down the calves, down towards the ankles. Just releasing. And start to round through the shoulders, letting the head fall. And on your next breath, finding your way back up to seated. Kick out those legs in front, give them a shake. And we'll work back into our seated cross-legged position, coming into our final meditation for today's class. So resting the hands comfortably into the lap, onto the legs, and closing the eyes. Connecting back in towards your breath. So noticing how your breath may feel differently from the beginning of the class. Not trying to change it or have any judgment or expectation of the breath or your yoga practice. Just allowing that breath to come back to its natural rhythm. Feeling it move through your body. Allowing the shoulders to feel heavy, falling down the back, feeling that supporting energy coming down your spine, all the way down to the hips, the pelvis, sit bones, rooting you into the mat. Bringing awareness into your heart center, feeling the warmth of your heart, feeling your heartbeat. Feeling the warmth of your baby's heart center and baby's heartbeat. Finding that connection with baby. Bringing your hands to heart center, gently pressing the thumb into the breastbone, bowing your head forward and honoring yourself for coming to the mat today and for moving your body. From my heart to yours, namaste. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed today's practice. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe down below to the Charwood crew if you aren't already subscribed. And be sure to check out more of my prenatal videos coming soon to YouTube. So with all of that said, you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.